There's one secret that makes PetSim's free reward UI perfect: the animations. It's not just about adding movement. Animations literally make the most boring part of a game into a dopamine hit factory. This is something most developers overlook, but if you stay to the end, you'll be able to compete with PetSim for the best UI on Roblox. This is the final part of a 3-part series on PetSim 99's free rewards system. If you missed the first 2, they're linked below. Now this video is going to have 2 sections. First, we'll quickly finish the back end of the rewards by adding a money counter, and then we'll do the animations. Let's get started. Okay, so the next step here is just making sure that this reward actually fires through to this money, and we can see our reward and our money show up after we've claimed it. So the way to do that is, since it's already getting fired through when we actually claim our reward here, it tells us how much new money we have, is we just need to create a new script here in our GUI. In the scripts folder, we'll create a local script, and we're just going to call this script money. Inside this script, we're just going to need a few services. Replicated storage for one, we're going to get replicated storage just like that. And then we're just going to get our references here, and we're going to say local remotes equals replicated storage.remotes. Then for our references, we're going to need the GUI, which is scripts.parents.parent. And then from there, we need the money frame, which is just GUI wait for child money. So now looking into this money frame here, we need the amount here, and we need to set this text element on this. So what we can do here is just say remotes.ui.update money, and then .onClient event. We want to connect it to an anonymous function here. And what we'll just do on this is say, when we update the money, we'll say moneyframe.amount.text equals, and this is going to be new money right here because that gets fired through. So it equals new money. There it is. Say number like that, and let's give it a look. It should also update on start when we load into the game for the first time. Yep. So we've claimed 10 coins. So it says we have 10 coins over here. And as we wait 9 more seconds for this to count down, once we click on this, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. You're going to see this number go up. You're going to see this right here change from ready and the 1 to nothing. This change to the check mark. But watch this. This is where the money's going to come through. There it is. 15 gold. So that's the money set up and working. And the last thing that you're going to want to do on your own is, because I can't actually share sound ID files with you, Roblox doesn't allow you to share those across multiple accounts or multiple experiences. What you can do is go through and put in your own sound effects and trigger them in your money script, trigger them in your reward script, in your window helper script. When you open a window, close a window, get new money, or update a reward or something, because sound effects really bring it to life. Now it's time to set up the animations. And it's pretty simple to do so, and it's very extendable. So as you add more animations and things to your game, it becomes super handy to set up your GUI animations like this. So the way we do it is by adding 2 scripts. We're going to add a local script in your scripts folder in your GUI, and we are going to call this UI helper. The other script you need to add is in replicated storage in your modules folder that we created earlier. And we're going to add a module script. This module script we are going to call UI effects. Here we'll replace this module with UI effects like this. So what we're going to do is this UI helper is going to loop through everything in this GUI. So you can see here in the Explorer, we've got a ton of stuff in this GUI, and anything that's a button, anything that we spawn in that's a button, or any other effects and animations we want to play, we don't want to have to manually go through and connect all of those in a script and say, oh, rewards.exit button, when you click it this way, when you hover over it, play this animation, when you click it, do this animation. We want that to be automated. And that's what we're going to do here, is we're going to loop through everything in this UI helper and build effects into this UI effects module, and then play those when we find objects that get added to the GUI. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we go, but for now, let's just get started and you'll see what I mean. Now, initially, we are going to need to get some services here. Actually, just one service. We are going to need replicated storage. We are going to do game get service replicated storage. And then we'll add a new section here, not references, we're going to add modules. So local UI effects equals, and then we'll require it. You have to type in require replicated storage.modules.UI effects. This is how we load this module script into to the UI helper script instead of just referencing it. And now we'll add our references, and we're just going to get the GUI, which is the parent of this script. So now we're going to add one event connection down here, and that is going to be UI.descendantAdded. And we're going to connect this to a function we'll create right here called apply effects. And we'll apply effects to the descendant of the GUI. So we'll connect this right here. And what we're going to do in this function is start checking what the descendant is. So we'll say if the descendant is a GUI button, that's the class of it, then we want to apply an animation to it. First things first is we have two different kinds of buttons. You'll notice we have this kind of button out here, which is just a normal button, and this exit button right here, which is a sync button, where if we go to it in the Explorer, we'll see there's exit and then this color piece, which kind of gets shifted up and down here. It's what you see in Pet Simulator when you see the button press into itself. That's what this is. So this is going to be a sync button, and anytime we have a button like this, all we're going to do to set this up is come down here in tags under its properties of the button itself. We'll come down to tags, and we will add a new tag called sync button. So then in UI helper, we will check right here if the descendant has tag sync button. Then we want to do one thing. Else, if it is just a normal button, we're just going to do the normal standard button animation, which we'll set up here in a second. But when I say set up, it might be a little confusing. What do I mean by set up there? I mean, we're going to come into UI effects, which we have this module in the local script, and we are going to build out some animations in this UI effects thing that we can call, and we can call them from this script. So within this module, again, we're going to need some services here. The first thing we need is replicated storage. So we'll do replicated storage as game get service replicated storage. We will need tween service, of course, because we're doing tweens on this. So we'll say game get service tween service. And the last one we need is user input service, which is game get service user input service, like that. Now let's create in our references a couple of tween infos. We'll say info1 equals tween info.new 0.1. The enum easing style of this we will set to cubic, and the easing direction we will say enum easing direction in. And on this second one we will call this info2 local equals tween info.new, and we will just set this to 0.05 with no additional parameters. And then we'll come down here to UI effects, and we are going to say function UI effects dot animate sync button press. We'll create one more here. We'll say function UI effects dot animate button press. This is for the normal button, but in both of these, we want to pass in the button that we're modifying, which is going to be button. And this is a type check again. We're going to make sure it is a GUI button element and it is descended from that class. Now coming back in here, we can set this script up and forget about it right now by saying UI effects dot animate sync button press, and then pass in the descendant just like that. And then right here, if it's not a sync button, we'll say animate button press, and again, pass in the descendant. Also, before we forget, if something gets added into the GUI before this gets set up, we need to animate it also. So what we're going to do right here is loop through existing descendants. So we'll say for blank, essentially, descendant in pairs GUI get descendants. Then we want to do the following. We want to apply effects. That's simple. Now here in UI effects is where we need to build this out. So there's one module I'm going to import into this project that I didn't personally create, and I've used this in my past Pet Simulator tutorials. So if you've seen that, you'll be familiar with this. If you haven't, go check it out. This module is called the Fusion module. It's a UI library that is just going to make our code look a little bit cleaner here. The link to it is down below, but we are going to put that into this modules folder right here in replicated storage. So to get Fusion into your game, you're going to go to the link that I put in the description and click this download Fusion button. Then we'll come down here to assets and then download this fusion.rbxm by clicking on it. Once you have it downloaded, you just want to come into replicated storage in your modules folder and click insert from file, and then select the file that you just downloaded. In my case, it's fusion.rbxm right here. Hit open, and then it's in your modules. Okay, so once you get this Fusion module imported here, what we're gonna do is come under references here and type in local fusion equals require replicated storage.modules.fusion. And then underneath this, we need to get references to the Fusion elements we're gonna be using. So we'll type local hydrate equals fusion.hydrate and local on event equals fusion.onEvent. Make sure you get Fusion imported into your modules folder, then make sure you're requiring it here in the UI effects script, and then right underneath it, you have hydrate and onEvent referenced right here as fusion.hydrate and fusion.onEvent. So let's set up the sync button press first because it'll be harder, and then animate button press. We should just be able to copy most of it over and actually remove a few things for it. So we're going to create some variables here for a click tween, a hover tween, and a press tween. But we're not going to set them to anything. Then we are going to store the original size of the button by saying original size equals button.size, and we're going to store the original color position by saying that equals button.color.position. Now here's where we use Fusion. We are going to hydrate this button, and we are going to hydrate it by connecting some of these events to it. Hydrating just means passing in properties, and it tacks them onto the button and its events. So right here on event mouse button 1 down, we want to have a function. We also on event mouse button 1 up want to have another function do something. In this case, play an animation. And then also on the event mouse enter, we want to have a function here. And finally on the event mouse exit, we need a function. In this mouse button 1 down function, we're going to say that click tween equals tween service create button. We'll use info2 for this animation. And then we'll open up a new table here of variables. We'll say the size should equal a new udim2, and we'll say it's ogsize.x.scale times 0.9, and then we'll say 0 for the offset, and then we'll say ogsize.y.scale times 0.9 again, and then 0. Then we'll come down 1 line, and we'll say that press tween equals tween service create. And we'll do this on button.color, which is that element we added on our own. Info2, open up a table here, and we will say that the position value needs to get tweened to a new udim2, which is going to be original color position.x.scale 0, 0.5, and 0. And then underneath this, we need to play the click tween. Just play that, and we need to play the press tween. Now that happens when the mouse button goes down. So when the mouse button comes up, we want to do a very similar thing. We'll take click tween again, and we'll create a new tween here with tweenservice.create, create it on the button with info2 again. But in this table, it's a lot simpler. We just set size equal to original size. Same thing for press tween here. Set press tween equals tween service create on button.color using info2, and we will just set the position to the original color position like so, and then we will play the click tween and we will play the press tween. So now that's mouse button 1 down and up, done. Then on mouse enter, we're just going to do hover tween here. Hover tween is going to equal tween service create on the original button using info1, and then we'll open up this table here with brackets, and in this table we will tween the size of the button to be udim2.new original size.x.scale times 1.06. We want it to get a little bit bigger when we hover over it. Offset of 0, original size.y.scale, again times 1.06, and then the offset of 0. We'll come down 1 line here, and we will just play the hover tween like that. Now on mouse exit, we can actually copy and paste this, and then get rid of this whole new udim right here, and we will just revert this to original size like that. And we can even backspace here a few times and get rid of these extra tabs to keep it clean. And then along with the hover tween, we're also going to create a press tween here. And the reason we have these all set to the same variable is so that they don't overlap each other, because when we overwrite them like this, it keeps it a little bit more together than if you're creating a bunch that are playing at the same time. So say the press tween is on the button.color, say info2, and the position just needs to equal the original color position like that. And we'll play the press tween. So that right there is the sync button done. That was a lot in a really quick amount of time, but let's just play it and see how it looks. So when we open up here, it expands when you hover over it, and it contracts when you click into it. Now there was an error down here because I mistyped mouse exit here. So this event right here is not actually mouse exit, it is mouse leave. Make sure you get this fixed, otherwise you could end up with an error like this. But now playing again, it is working and looks good. So now for the normal button press down here, we're gonna do a lot of the same stuff. In fact, the easiest thing to do is just gonna be to copy this entire function that we've put here and paste it first into here. And then we are going to get rid of all of the press tweens here, as well as OG color position. So anytime we have press tween, we can just come in here and delete that. So press tween is all gonna be gone, because we don't need it to press it down into itself. And these are different buttons. We're also going to tweak the size to 0.94 on this top part. Instead of 1.06, we're going to say 1.04 on this bottom size scale. And now as we come in, you can see this button actually gets a little bit bigger when you hover over and a little bit smaller when you move off of it. And it does sink in when you press it. Same thing with all of these buttons here. Redeem, and you can click it just like that. Now guys, we trucked through this UI effects section. We also use a very similar system, UI effects, in the last Pet Simulator tutorial. So if there's anything else with that you're interested in, give that a look. And I will also link a model of this below in case you're having a problem with the UI effects. You can go in there and download that, as well as make sure you click the Fusion link below to set up UI effects the same way if you made it to this point. Thanks for watching to the end. If you liked this free reward series, check out this video about making the shop GUI from Pet Sim also. It's a great place to go from here. Laters.